What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the CotAcasT. My name is Brian Bermudez, and I'm the host of the Craft of the Air podcast, the aviation podcast that expands your knowledge in each episode, sending you the untold world of aviation. I have a very special guest on this episode of the CotAcasT. I would like to introduce a an excellent student, somebody that has amazing potential, and I really want him to come on the show, Chris Gutierrez. Chris, thank you for coming on to the show.
No, thank you for having me. It's honestly a pleasure. I've talked to different people, they spoken very highly of this podcast. I just wanted to get on here and speak my truth almost.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Chris and I were working on some practice problems and going through some airframe and power plant stuff. And Chris is kind of getting towards the end of the program here. He's getting ready to test on the federal exams, and I think that he brings a really good perspective, some good insight, some things that a lot of people don't necessarily hear. Students that are just getting to that point where they're preparing to take these federal exams. And you hear a lot about the students that are just getting into the school, the students that get it. But kind of, if you go back to episode 31, and I had this conversation with Mohammed, an aircraft maintenance tech engineer that just got his license, no one really speaks about that in between. And me and Chris were just speaking about that, and Chris has a really unique perspective. But first thing first, Chris, what brought you to aviation maintenance? What kind of got your eye and said, you know what, this is maybe something that I could see myself doing?
To be honest, when I straight out of high school, I went to NYT for architecture, and going through it, I was honestly overall good at the building stuff. Getting to that type of stuff. But when it came to the other side of architecture, it's very different from like what I wanted to
Yeah.
do. You know what I mean? So my girlfriend, her dad is a technician for about more than 20 years at American. So he guided me. He's like, you know what, like maybe like this is a route that you'd like to take. So I tried it out, and honestly, one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. You know what I mean? Like just the overall stuff that I've learned from different people, and the doors that are open to me wherever I want to go. It's honestly something that's like I love it. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you this: when you speak about your past experience and going to school and kind of seeing, you know what, maybe this is not for me, and hearing or and seeing firsthand from your girlfriend's, relative. Now, when you look at this, what type of person do you find yourself? Are you the type of person that you're okay sitting at a desk, or are you the type of person that you're like, you need a different challenge every day, or you need to figure something out? What type of person are you?
On To be honest, like I get very like me personally, I get very frustrated in like a setting where like I'm in a constant like just one place. I like to be in constant movement, around. Honestly, in this job, like I feel like from my perspective, it's almost like a fresh, clean slate. You know what I mean? Like now, I haven't even gone to any type of experience. You know what I mean? So like it's like I'm excited to see what it's like, to be somewhere where like you're in and out, of the country for the most part. To be honest.
I like that, and it's kind of this going theme. A lot of recruiters and people wondering why we have job shortages, and they wonder what type of people are interested in aviation. A lot of us as aircraft mechanics, we like to be active. We like to be doing something. We don't necessarily want to be still. We want to be figuring things out, and I think that's good. That's important that Chris brings that up because I think that's a good characteristic that makes a good trait in a mechanic. Looking at, you know, maybe you saw it firsthand, but that lifestyle that you hear about and you see about of, possibly traveling to the Caribbean to fix an aircraft and maybe staying out there and then maybe traveling to Europe. Is that what really appealed you to aviation? You're like, you know what, this is something that would definitely be for me.
Yeah, I mean, like just hearing about the places where you can go, the people you can meet. Like I know, just hearing around, like the friendships that you make are like ones that like no other. You know what I mean? Like these are like people that you be with for like most of your day. I feel like, that type of like camaraderie type of stuff, and like it really like, it's just like it's a brotherhood almost. Like even in school,
Yeah.
like you make friends with everybody, and who likes to work hard, and that's who you associate yourself with.
Being in school now, you're getting towards the end and you're preparing yourself for the most important part, which is, a lot of people they may not understand that you're getting a college degree, but what your real focus is are those federal exams. How has it been, getting towards the end and transitioning from studying, classes and your credits for your degree to going into the FAA and the federal curriculum?
To be honest, the thing about it is, like, I started out as a young student that like really overlooked the importance of studying from day to day. You know what I mean? But I guess once you get in that rhythm, you're going like full steam ahead almost. And but it's a huge transition. I don't think a lot of people get used to it. In the time that they do. You know what I mean? A lot of people take it lightly. But those who don't, those are the people that in turn get, their license, they get everything that they ever wanted. You know what I mean? So I really sat myself down. I looked at everything I can get done to prepare myself, and I feel like I've come up with like certain components that if I can put it together, almost I can like really become like come up with some type of like synthesized like cheat sheet almost. You know what I mean? That like can really help other people out.
And talk about that a little bit, Chris. Excuse me, you have mentioned that before, and I do have to agree. In many aspects, there may be better ways in delivering, I guess, the content that we need, the things that we need to understand and comprehend for the exams. What's one of the biggest areas? You've studied electricity, you've studied the composition of aircraft, wood, different types of metal, hydraulics, fuel. I mean, you name it. Flight controls. Which section of the curriculum for airframe general power plant would you have to say really, in your eyes, in your opinion, has to be revised? That you took that course and you were like, wow, I have no idea how I'm going to apply that out there. I have no idea how that information is going to help me. That information, were there any classes like that?
Looking back at it, like honestly, not for anything, but electricity is something that's so extensive and so thorough
Mm,
that like not a lot of people get it the first try. And even now, with our study session, like I'm just breaking the surface of like like revising everything. But other than that, um, I don't know any classes that I had like a lot of trouble in. Maybe avionics, that was a big one.
mm.
It's very extensive as well with the instruments. But I didn't really have any trouble with other things. It's just when it comes to like really preparing, is that it's on your own. You know what I mean?
Right. And now speak a little bit about that when you say on your own. When you did you start to study for the FAA exams recently, or was this something that you had, kind of in the back of your head from when you started saying, you know what, maybe I'll start looking at the questions and the review sheets. What's your method and how you approached and how you're approaching these
My,
FAA exams?
yeah. So my method's a bit different from like everybody else's. I mean, I would say, because the people I talk to, they mainly revise like prepware, dauntless. And from my point of view, to be honest, I was mostly looking at it as almost like, let's say like God forbid that one question that makes a difference, like between failing or passing, isn't on any of the both platforms, but it's something in the textbook. You know what I mean? So like, so in my thought process, like, let me go through the textbook, let me read it, let me understand it a little bit better, and that way I can connect the textbook with like the question
Hmm.
asked. So it's more of an understanding game more than a memorization game. You know what I mean? I feel like that's like something that gets overlooked. You know what I mean? It's not about repetition. It's about understanding what you're reading and how to get the right answer.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of people will just look at that prepware app and they're just memorizing certain answers and certain sequences of everything, and they really have no idea how something works. It's interesting because the way that Chris describes that that he prepares and studies for exams is the same way that I did so as a student. Now, for students that are listening, maybe coming into the program around the country, around the world, and maybe thinking about it, what's one piece of advice that you would have for them as freshmen coming into any A&P program?
One piece of advice that I'd honestly like give out with no doubt is take it day by day, week by week, but don't go too far ahead. Cause like in my case, like you take it from me, I was thinking like, oh, I'm going super fast. I'm trying to finish as fast as possible. But at the end of the day, I'm actually going 5 semesters rather than four because I mixed around my classes in the wrong.
Hmm.
You know what I mean, rather than taking the time to really analyze things and like taking a look at it. And another way that you can think about it when it's day by day, like every week, read a few pages of a textbook, read anything, you know what I mean? Like take it slow. So at the end of the day, when it comes around where like, you take that 1 month to prepare for an exam, it's a little lighter rather than, all at once.
That's a good point that he brings up, and that's really something that I think, in my opinion, could be applied for a lot of things in life, taking it day by day. And excuse me, speaking of that, I know that you work, I know that you have a family. How do you really manage your time effectively and stay, in some cases, probably motivated? Because
On
yeah.
Yeah. Motivation has honestly been like, one of the biggest things, I share most of my time with my girlfriend recently, you know what I mean? And like it takes a lot out of you, like mentally wise. It's not something that like you can like, read a whole chapter of basically like,
No.
and like just like be good for the rest of the day, It takes a lot out of you. Whether you're thinking about it or not throughout the day, it's that energy that it comes with, you know what I mean? And it's like it's tough.
Is there something that if there's is there something that drives you at the end? I know you have your family, your girlfriend, you have a lot of support around you. Do you think more in terms of when you think of aviation, do you think more of the money aspect of it, or do you think of more the opportunities that will come with it?
I think of like obviously, like when you hear, money's an amazing thing, to have in life, and unfortunately for us, this career path has a lot to it. You know what I mean? It just depends on if you take opportunities when they come, you know what I mean? But I feel like the opportunities are so much more and the knowledge that you learn is so much more valuable when it comes to it. Cause like my aspirations are like, taking the knowledge I gain from aviation, maybe even creating a business of my own, something like that, you know what I mean? Like, just like how to read certain things and get knowledge out of it. It's just something that I don't think I'd learn anywhere else, to be honest.
And it really does open doors. And I think that's something that you mentioned before. I love that answer. When you think about going into the future, actually stay on that. Something did catch my attention that you said. When you think of starting a business, and there's so many great opportunities to start businesses and opportunities in aviation right now. Aviation is growing so much. Do you have any ideas? Anything that you would like to do, or anything that you would see yourself good at in terms of starting something, maybe something new? Something existing.
I have a like different approach to this, but I feel like ever since I started give me a second. Like ever since I started like with my love for aviation, like I've analyzed stuff like so much differently than I would have analyzed it to begin with. For example, let's say I had to fix something on my car. Like the first thing that comes to my brain is like, where's the AMM?
Hmm.
Or where's the manual? Where's this? Where's that? You know what I mean? And like if I don't have it, I don't a part of me is like I can't figure this out. You know what I mean? But it's like it's definitely like it's like very it's like I don't know. It's a trait that just get comes on you and like
It,
don't leave it. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's so I feel that what he's saying is difficult to describe, but as a aviation professional, I think mechanics, pilots, a lot of us have this inherent trait that I guess we get over time, being in the industry. All right, speaking of that, there's a lot of technology, a lot of automation, a lot of things come. Everybody's talking about Chat GPT and all of these things. Do you see that? Is it possible? I've never asked this on the CotAcasT. I always ask, how do you think technology is going to shape it or something like that? Do you foresee AI replacing us
I was
as
actually,
a,
it's so weird that you say this because like last week in class, I was speaking about this with my classmates. You know what I mean? I personally don't see AI like taking control of us, but I do see within my career, maybe even yours, I believe that technology will improve so much that we will be working on airplanes that travel to different planets. I believe so.
and I think that's a great point that Chris brings up. This is why he had to come on the show, because we think alike. And what comes with that, when technology starts to advance in those places, in those areas of aviation, the maintenance is probably, systems are more reliable, they're made better, they're more efficient. And so the maintenance itself, maybe we have inspections, but the maintenance itself goes down. So yeah, I could kind of see where I could see that, especially in
Mhm.
our career time. Now, speaking about our career, what we do for a living, I know you've heard about the shortages and how much, the going rate is for an A&P. Do you agree with what you're expecting to be making out there, or is this something that you say, you know what, it could be a lot more for what I'm going through and for all these things I'm studying?
To be honest, I know personally firsthand, I know a certain somebody that like is studying to be a doctor, you know what I mean? And it's not easy, you know what I mean? I mean, I wouldn't say my type of like commitment or studying is as far thrown like, up to there, you know what I mean? But I
Hmm.
feel like when it comes down to it, you know what I mean? We're both dealing with like lives at hand, we're both dealing with like getting people safely to places, you know what I mean, regardless of how it comes out to be. But I feel like when it comes to expectation about pay or anything, I'm just expected to be treated fairly, at the end of the day I do recognize the fact that like sometimes we're just a number, you know what I mean. But I feel like it's also important to take care of me properly, you know what I mean, especially like when you hear about all these high numbers that we could be making in the near future, you know what I mean. It's honestly a plus when it comes to that type of stuff that I get to have this opportunity, and it's almost a reward for studying so hard.
Hmm. I like what you mentioned, and you speak about that responsibility that you're going to have, and aviation maintenance technicians have around the country and the world. Do you think about that? Is it something that's in the back of your head, or you're kind of like, well, I'll deal with it when I get there and I'll understand the magnitude of it? Or does it cross your mind that signing your signature before everybody takes off?
Yeah, no, like I'm telling you, like really getting to study, really getting to read everything. You start to like analyze it a little bit more, and like you're basically honestly like it's scary how like much importance your signature can have from a day-to-day basis, you know what I mean. My signature right now on a piece of paper is worthless, you know what I mean, but when it comes to like signing off an airplane with like 200 plus lives on it to get from
Mm.
point A to point B, it's scary, you know what I mean. And that's where like your focus, your just your state of mind has to be on point the whole time you're expecting the whole aircraft.
In your opinion, what's essential in the traits or the characteristics of making somebody successful in what we do and what you're gonna do? Would it be confidence, or would it be attention to detail? What do you think?
I guess it just starts from being malleable, you know what I mean. uh
Mm.
being able to like be constructed into somebody that you didn't think that you could be constructed into, because when it comes to people like you, for example, you know what I mean. I'm new to the job, you have experience. I have to be malleable to all the information you give me, you know what I mean, because it's not easy. If you put me on the job right away, like there's no chance I could like figure things out as quick as you can, you know what I mean. So I feel like it's very you have to be somebody that's willing to learn and willing to work hard because a lot of people like the thing is I hear a lot of people be like, oh, if I don't pass here, I could pass somewhere else, or I don't have to study here. I just have to memorize this. Like it's not like that because God forbid or let's say you do get your job. You know what I mean. God forbid that one thing you thought you didn't need, you needed. You know what I mean. You're done. You know, keep you at the door. Anything.
What is this? What is this talk? We don't need to name specific states or schools, but what is this general there's this general thing that a lot of students do around the country that they study in one area, in one school, and then they go to like specific states to take the exams. I know you're not going to do that because Chris is taking it in his college where he studied that. He's not going to go anywhere. But why do people even go to other states? Explain that for the listeners that have no idea because they're like, wait a minute, you go to a school and you learn how to be an A&P and then you can test there, but you travel 3,000 miles and you pay $4,000 to test somewhere else? Explain that to them.
To be honest, it's more of in simple terms, more of a cheat sheet. To be honest, it's for I wouldn't necessarily say the slackers. It's just for somebody that needs a little push to get past that finish line. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Um, like for me, for example, you know, the way I work, the way I studied, I don't necessarily see myself needing that extra push. You know what I mean? But I just wouldn't like people taking advantage of it. For example,
Yeah,
almost and like just looking to like get it without even trying. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Different people like I know different people like may not have like the capacity to like take in all this information at once. You know what I mean? And maybe they need like a break or something. That work hard, but other people that don't deserve it, I don't think that's not fair.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. And then, of course, there's many instances where we have people that they have families, they have jobs, they kind of need that extra push. As Chris says, I agree with that word. That's a key word, push. Sometimes people need an extra push, but there are many people that are capable of, passing the exams where they take it. Including Chris, and I see him taking it and passing it on the first attempt. Coming towards, you're finishing up, in your senior semesters. Any memorable experiences that you could take away from Vaughn that you're like, man, no matter what, I'll always remember that about A&P school.
Honestly, it's the friendships that you make. Honestly, it's something that's like I didn't necessarily see myself like growing with so much with different people. Learning different things. You know what I mean? But honestly, it's just it's the teachers just as much as like the students. You know what I mean? Because when it comes to you know asking for help, no one tells you no, like we can't help you, like no, we can't do this for you. Everybody's on the same page. Like we want everybody to pass. We want everybody to get to where they want to be. You know what I mean? As long as they put in their part, obviously. And I feel like that's one of the best things that like I enjoy about Vaughn. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
almost a family of people that like have one goal in mind and they share it.
It is true. It's really, and you mentioned it before, brotherhood. It really is. And you hear about the students that make it, we get actually happy when we know that a student actually got to the end, he got his license. And that's never the end because we know everybody knows each other in aviation and we'll always see each other. We'll always help each other out in some way. You know, outside of Vaughn and everything like that, is there anything aviation related that you like to, not clubs or anything like that, but anything that you like to keep a lookout on? Do you watch like air disasters, or are you the type of person that you check out the YouTube videos of the practicals? What do you like to do?
Recently I've been starting to, as part of my studying routine, listen to certain oral questions on the phone while I'm on my drive to school, back, or either or, like just getting familiarized with like speaking, hearing, because I feel like I'm a person that watches to learn, you know what I mean? But I feel like aviation as it is. Like it teaches you how to do, how to hear, how to talk, how to comprehend, like reading wise, and it's just like it's a lot of things into one that just teaches you so many things.
I know you mentioned a business, but looking towards the future, you got your A&P license, you got your experience working out there. Where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself staying over here on the East Coast with your girlfriend, starting a family over here, or maybe going to the West Coast, or maybe a cost of living cheaper state, maybe Atlanta? Where do you see yourself?
Honestly, at the age I'm at, I'm 19. I'm turning 20. The 22nd.
Ah,
Yeah.
all
Uh,
right.
turning 20. So honestly, I'm about to be 20 years old with a license. I don't see myself moving out just yet, but I definitely have like thank God with the opportunities I'm gonna receive with like hopefully, God willingly, I got a job. Start property businesses. I definitely wanna. One of my biggest dreams that I have is opening up a car shop. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that's what I was going at. I have a different aspect, like what I mean. Um, with a car shop, it's something I have, like it's a dream of mine, and I wanna do it.
That's so great to hear. There's so many, excuse me, A&Ps that are passionate about cars, including myself. And you very seldomly hear about an A&P that just works as an aircraft mechanic. They always have two or three jobs or their own businesses, as Chris said, real estate and automotive being big. So I definitely see that coming up. And I think that about wraps it up. Any last things that you want to tell the listeners listening to this episode of the CotAcasT?
Um, I think the points that I made, it's just like take it day by day. Read. I saw a quote one time. Reading a page a day is still reading a page a day. Like eating healthy for a day is still eating healthy for a day. You know what I mean? So even if you do the bare minimum for one day, it's more than doing nothing. You know what I mean? So if you like to, like, let's say for a prep where you like to do 2 questions a day, still better than doing nothing. So you just keep practicing, because 2 years you have 2 years, basically 4 semesters, to get through everything. I highly doubt if you practice a little bit a day, you will not be familiar with more than like 70%.
And and that's a great. And before I do the farewell, that actually brings up one more point. This is unscripted. We all know this is unscripted. Chris, there's so many different test guides and prepware apps and this types of thing. Listen, everybody that's listening, in your opinion, there's prepware, there's Dauntless now that everyone speaks of. You could buy the Jeppesen review books, the physical copies of the review. What do you think, in your opinion, has been the most effective? Or are you just kind of looking at all of them?
I've done a few. I've done a few. First thing first, when it came to studying for prepware for GGO2, I bought the book, the ASA, the for general. I bought it, and for every question, I got the question, I got the answer, and I put it into one sentence and into a cohesive
Okay.
sentence. And I did that for every question of the whole book. You know what I mean? And honestly, it made me memorize everything with like nothing. Like it was like I knew the whole book back and forth. This time I took a little bit into a deeper dive with the textbook, and studying, taking notes. Um, but honestly, when it comes to prepware, repetition is obviously something that you need to do, but it's just understand it. You know what I mean? Like understand why this is the way it is, and then from there it'll just become second nature to you.
There it is. You guys have it firsthand from a very good student and somebody that we definitely going to see out there. Chris, we're definitely going to have you on again after you get your license. You're going to come on as an aircraft maintenance engineer, and you're going to give us some secrets on how you got your license. But Chris, I want to thank you so much again for joining us on this episode of the CodaCast.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the honor. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Have a good night. We'll be seeing you.
Take care.